Hello YouTube, this is Ben Gessel. How's it going? I'm going to try talking about time allowing. Why? I'm just getting very, very busy here. So I'll try to send out videos when I can. At time. Right now. So I'm going to talk about a subject here that I haven't really discussed in as much detail, perhaps in the past, but it might sound at times a little bit mostly contentious, or it might sound like trying to pick a fight, but it is not really that way. Rather, the feelings I have been festering for quite a while on the subject, and because of that festering, it might bring out some aggression, at least some um, yeah, some intensity there. Okay, so I'll try to keep that on the down low, realizing that I would like to be able to just communicate a lot of these things in a more rational sense, more level-headed sense, if you will. And believe me, this subject is not easy to talk about because so many people I've known, and this is the subject matter, are left-leaning, they're liberal, they're secular. They might be. There's all these kinds of people, this huge variety of people that we in the United States, at least in the United States, I'm sure there's probably some similarities with in other areas of the world, but all these people that kind of are there's been this attempt to try to lump them all together, right, for a long time, the Democratic Party, or maybe the Green Party kind of appeals more to certain folks, or there's a few other parties like that, but the Democratic Party is what we're talking about here, and the liberal end of the Democratic Party especially, not as much the conservative Democrats. This is the liberal Democrats I'm talking about, and I'm talking about people I know personally, and so I'll actually talk as if they were here. It's the best way of putting it. So this video is kind of being entitled Political Correctness, Liberal Ideologies and Behaviors. Maybe not such behaviors, but I can go into that a little bit too. And I call it other nonsense because I'm not a liberal. I consider liberal ideas, many of them, to be nonsense. And that's probably the punch right there, right? That's the aggressive little bit there. But you'll see why as I go. And perhaps I'm not talking about classical liberalism. I'm talking about what liberals have become. I'm talking about modern liberals right now. I'm not talking about all the old guys. I'm not talking about Locke or any of those guys. No. So, yeah, I realize there's all these evolutions of ideas. I understand. So let's get into this. Okay. So let's start with the environment, a subject that I actually agree a lot more the majority of the time with liberals. Here's the thing. All right. So, if I was talking to Robert Redford, if Redford was right here, or talking to him about these very things, I would love to bring up this subject because I know this is something he cares about. It's something I care about. It's something many people care about. I would venture to guess that a lot of conservatives, I consider myself to be loosely associated with that group. Loosely because some of their behaviors I don't agree with. Some of these conservatives, right? You see how convoluted politics is. Part of my frustration is how convoluted the whole thing is, how corrupt the whole thing is. And people get caught up with these words and things, and you know what I'm talking about. But if Redford is here, we talk about, how do you take care of a forest? Well, you're doing what lumber companies are doing now, where you plant trees when you cut them down. You don't clear cut. Or if you do ever clear cut, you need to plant the trees again. You need to look at the best way of cutting down trees in an area. Do environmental studies, that stuff. And as far as I know, the lumber companies I'm more familiar with, especially Weyerhaeuser, they're doing that now. So this is more has to do with perhaps some of my later points here in the environment. What are like the carbon footprint and what am I doing for the environment, right? Um, and then there's different kinds of farming techniques and things. We'll get to the food thing here a bit. I actually am an advocate also of organic farming, of course, and having farms that are smaller. So, well, they're not smaller, but they're not commercially owned, and they have nothing to do with corrupt companies like Monsanto, which I think is Monsanto is an evil company. I don't agree with them at all. I don't like them. I hate GMOs, and I think getting back to farming, there's just this has to do with technology. There are better farming techniques than some than others. I want those better farming techniques to be used, and I want land to be often returned to its natural state, or to have um, you know um, nutrients returned to the soil, whenever possible. It's very easy to deplete the nutrients in the soil if you're not careful, right? So we can go on and on about mining and the use of land, and also endangered animals and what we can do to. I mean, we don't want to kill. Nobody wants to kill animals, unless nobody wants to wipe a species out of animals. If there are people that want to wipe out a species of animal, really if they do, that motivation is definitely not good, right? There are worse things that one could desire, but that's definitely not an admirable thing. So it's very faulty thinking to accuse conservative Republicans of all wanting to wipe out these species because we want to push for industry. So, okay, recycling. I do it. I don't think we need to discuss this. I think recycling is kind of a given for everyone. And not littering is also a given. If I ever put anything not in a garbage can that is garbage, it has to be organic. Now I know that maybe my way of thinking isn't quite right, but an orange or banana peel will decompose. Plastic, on the other hand, that's a different deal. You see where I'm going with this. If there's no garbage can, I have no issues with throwing an apple core out the car window, or a banana peel, or an orange peel. As long as they can get out there in the forest, they can decompose, that kind of thing. Right? Perhaps those peels aren't as good to throw out as an apple core. Perhaps there are things that are better to throw out, like a cherry pit or something. You get into the science there. Okay, so you see what I'm saying? When it comes to things like the environment, it should be a scientifically based approach. I really think that everybody should be on the same page. And I hate this inference that some people might advocate for things other than recycling, not littering, trying to limit your carbon footprint. And it's great to do things in the environment, but we're all on the same page. Also, with regard to the carbon footprint thing I mentioned, it's true that we want to have cars that don't pollute as much in the future. I think that's a great idea. Have to get used to it. Anytime that you use anything cooking, there's all kinds of things that we do that leave a carbon footprint. So obviously we want to make that less of a carbon footprint. That can mean a lot of different things. I'm going to combine this with the next subject here, veganism and food, right? Okay, so obviously I want to eat local stuff. I would think that both people from every party and every whatever would agree with that as well. If they can think maybe sometimes it's great to eat food that comes from a long ways away, but it's just a question of how much food is that, and what are we talking about really with that. So anyway, there's this other side to this whole thing that I'm mentioning here that doesn't have to do with you need to go more locally. And also, there's the fight against GMOs, about wanting everything to be organic. I'm all for that. I'm all for organic food. I'm all for non-GMOs and everything. And for meat, just being grass-fed. If it's if you well, I guess pigs would be the main exception. Well, but for beef and for natural seeds and things for chickens. And I want to give them lots of room to run around, all that kind of stuff. I'm all for that, obviously. So, okay, there's the question of how much meat, right, or dairy should one eat, right? As about, kind of getting into all this, what are you doing for the environment, kind of thing, and eating meat and dairy is not as good for the environment because cows consume more, they poop more, and poop is bad for I would say it fertilizes the soil, but you don't want to get into water resources and all that stuff. Yes, we understand that. And we want to be careful with the fish population, all that stuff. Well, here's the thing. We were designed to eat mostly plants anyway. I have never in my entire life only eaten meat only, except like meat and water. Only meat and dairy and water. That's ridiculous. There's no fiber. You couldn't survive that way. You have to have some kind of fiber, some kind of plant food. It's extremely unhealthy and would probably kill you at a very earlier age. Just have animal foods and water. We're not lions or tigers. We're humans. We eat mostly plant food anyway. That's what we're designed to eat. So whether or not you don't have any meat at all, or dairy, or you include some in your diet, or any spectrum in between, to me, after reading comment after comment, watching video after video on veganism and all such other subjects on YouTube, my patience is wearing thin for some sorts of people. It depends on the person, of course. I'll get to this militant kind of ideology here in a bit. It all depends on the person. But if somebody thinks I'm evil because I eat beef, they're crazy, right? And people that think that way are nuts. They're nuts. It's a great idea. It's a great thing to try to treat animals more humanely. And to if you eat them, right, to kill them, right, to kill them more humanely, I'm absolutely for that. Absolutely. Temple Grandin. I know about Temple Grandin. Let's get some more Temple Grandin ideas going on in the meat and dairy industry. But we don't need to be eating as much of that stuff anyway. So it's. Why do I think this? Where am I coming from? Well, I'm coming from where most people come from when we read in Genesis that meat, the animals were given to us by God, right, for raiment. There's a lot of these old terms, right, but for food raiment, to be used wisely, right, or to be used prudently, all these kinds of terms that basically mean we should not be eating meat every single day. Or every other day. Oh, it depends. But a little bit less of that red meat, right? And watch even the poultry. Even don't go crazy with fish. Eggs. Eat more of the plant foods, right? That's what's in the Bible, but it's not. There's no specific. Obviously, there's no specific ratios, right? That the Lord gives us. There's no. It's not very specific, but basically says animals are here for us. Not just for us, but we have dominion over the animals. We'll also be accountable to God. This is what a lot of liberals forget. We're going to be accountable to God for tons of stuff, including how we treated animals. Will God ask us why we ate conventional meat instead of grass-fed meat? No. But he might ask us why we kicked that dog that was basically being, maybe we didn't know it at the time, but he was being abused. or why would you kick that dog when the dog was just having, he wasn't going to attack you, right? He was just, anyway, you see what I'm saying, right? Okay, so we've got the environment now. That should be everybody. And I think liberals are sadly mistaken when they think some kind of sample. The more I see that people just would agree with this anyway, people that are conservative, agreeing with recycling and not littering, limiting your carbon footprint, and trying to, the more that conservatives, or the more that people I consider to be conservative, or the more that whatever people advocate those things, the more I think that those environmental kinds of things, they're not as partisan as some people might think. It's this, again, on that note, the conservatives that are Christian or religious or something along those lines, they don't have to be Christian, but those conservatives that are more principled are going to be those folks that will obviously agree with liberals in this regard. It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. In veganism, there's some very odd ideas. It's fine if someone wants to have a specific kind of diet that is healthier, but it's not as politically charged as I think some people might think it is. It just isn't. Okay, let's get to some things a bit more politically charged things, bit by bit here. Charities, right? Welfare. I don't like the word welfare as much as I like the word charities, but there's other words I prefer over those two as well. I personally will only donate to organizations that will give what I've donated to the poor and needy directly, with very, very little of that, whatever I give in, going to administrative costs. I'm not paying. I want to make sure that the organization can sustain itself. I want to make sure that it can do what it needs to do. So, okay, if they need to, so that, well, like a smidgen of whatever I give to that end, okay, so be it. But what I'm trying, I want that money, whatever I give, to go to people that need it. Right? That's just as simple as that. Government should not be involved in charity, welfare, or anything like that on a large scale, with a few exceptions. Right? With a few exceptions. Those exceptions being, of course, one of them being medical bills that a family can't afford. That's for someone that needs a life-saving kind of operation. Obviously, the government should help out with that. Will they? Obviously, a lot of times they won't. See, this. Yeah, don't be confused, liberals. What you want, or what you want from your leaders, right? In this regard, which is free healthcare for all, or for everybody's gonna be okay when they go to, everything's taken care of, right? What you want is that, I would assume. Hopefully, it's not just healthcare for minorities and white people get shafted and we die if we can't afford something. Hopefully, it's not something like that, liberals. I raised my eyebrows for some of you folks out there, but the thing is that your politicians are not going to necessarily do what you want them to do. You should know that. You should not just stop believing words, right? Robert Redford would be very pro-Kennedy, and I think Kennedy had some great qualities as well. But the time of Kennedy is long past. Bill Clinton was no John F. Kennedy. Definitely nothing like the man. I don't care how much of a womanizer he was. John F. Kennedy had so much more of a, I would say, righteous desires to help people. Bill Clinton, maybe, but by now it's probably largely squashed. And I'm not sure if I can hold him fully accountable for that, but in some respects I can. But again, I believe in the Illuminati, so I believe some of that, what Bill did, probably was influenced by the Illuminati. But that's just, we're talking about here. What I'm trying to say is that there are these older liberals, right? These older hippies guys, right? The older liberal Democrats that have these rose-colored goggles on when it comes to the Democratic Party. No, these guys are corrupt to the core. Hippies. I don't care if you're 50, 60, 70, or whatever. Gosh, I know that the 60s for you was probably great. Hopefully it was great. Hopefully, I don't know. Who knows? but it it isn't that way. People talk and they do something else. In Washington D.C., the sooner you can understand that, the better, right? It shouldn't take someone half your age to explain that to you. But if it does take that, then so be it. Don't trust them. I try to tell conservatives, don't just trust a conservative leader. It's the same thing with liberals. Don't just trust someone that's a liberal Democrat because he talks about all these things that you like, but is he gonna actually do anything about it within the powers he can? Is he going to be the person you think he is? No, not really. You really have to know the guy, right? Again, government should not be involved in charity, welfare, anything like that, with a few exceptions, right? Again, the medical situations, right? And also the other one I was going to mention is food donations and other such things that preserve and sustain life. So anything that's oriented towards sustaining life, yes, I'm in favor for. Do people abuse the system? Do people abuse the welfare state? Yes, that's why I am very specific about this stuff. I am very well aware of the fact that many people out there are taking taxpayer dollars while they're sitting on their tushes and not doing anything to improve their situation in life. This is why one of the reasons like government and welfare don't work very well at all. Everybody in the entire United States, and everybody in the world for that matter, but we'll talk about the United States here, but everybody should be trying to do what they can do to sustain their own life and to live, to be productive members of society, right? To contribute to society. When our jobs and a lot of the things we do outside of our jobs, we're contributing. We're always contributing. We're not taking. Someone that takes, right? You should not have someone on welfare that's a taker. Someone that takes is a freeloader. They are always sleeping, they're always eating, and watching TV, or playing video games, or doing something recreational that's not going to help anyone else. We're not talking about exercise, we're talking about indulgent things. And that's all they do, that's all they ever do. This is a person that's a taker. And on top of all that, there's all kinds of other things associated with just being a gluttonous, a natural man in regards to religion. Someone who only wants to satisfy sexual appetite and food, gluttony, and sleep. And a few little things here and there that, creature comforts, getting massages all the time, right? Or you name it. Someone who only does that stuff is someone who's a taker, right? I want you to think about these things. I want you to think about, even though this video might be geared toward liberals, it's for everyone, but think about people in society who are givers. They give of themselves, their time, what they have to help other people, and people are takers. All right, this is very important when it comes to things like welfare. All right, I'm going on here. Multiculturalism. All right, what does multiculturalism mean? Well, multi cultures, right? The presence. This is from the dictionary. The presence of, or support of, for the presence of several distinct cultural or ethnic groups within a society. Easy enough. Let's see. White, right? Hispanic, Latino. I know the difference. Okay. Black, right? Asian, right? We're talking about large groups, not just single nationalities. American Indian, right? East Indian, right? Arab, anybody from the Middle East, Sometimes that could be more of a white, sometimes more of a Indian. You make the call, right? It's kind of the middle of the world there. And then, whoever else is in the United States or in multicultural society now. That's several different cultural ethnic groups, maybe quite a bit more than that. We're talking about single nations, hundreds, thousands, depending on your definition of culture and ethnic group. I think ethnic group is a bit more specific. It's more specific of that word term than cultural. Right? But you get the idea of what we're talking about here. In the United States, at least, we're talking about some advocating a way of socializing and with interacting with people. What we're talking about is um, you would talk to if someone wanted to talk about slavery, or someone wanted to talk about Chinese working on the railway, or gosh, you name it. Maybe how the Spanish and the American Indian initial clashes and wars, and eventually you have the two cultures, peoples mixing. Any other kinds of subjects, it could be that are cultural, have a cultural kind of side to them. What we're talking about is being able to have a peaceable, engaging kind of conversation, open dialogue, right? Open listening, empathizing kind of dialogue with people, talking about all kinds of subjects from all different places in the world, and not just wanting to hear just one group, right? But everyone. That's what we're talking about, I would think, as well as just wanting everybody from different kind of backgrounds to be happy, right? To feel like they're contributing to society, to feel like they're being listened to, right? All these kinds of things. This is what multiculturalism, I think, should mean. I would think from when I first heard about this in elementary school, right? But does it really mean that? I would hope it does, right? Well, I hear things, right? I'm hearing increasingly very angry things. We don't need to go into what they are. I think you know what I'm talking about, though. I would hope so. At least, for any adults who watch the news or read the paper, that kind of thing, right? So we know that there are problems with multiculturalism, and those problems aren't going away easily. But the thing is that it's really what it is it's just, I keep telling this to other people, when it comes to race and racism and ways of seeing different nations and peoples, it is a spiritual subject more than anything else. You might think it's intellectual or it's whatever. No. It actually is spiritual, and it comes down to: are you listening to people? Are you getting what people say? Are you reaching out? Are you wanting other people? Many different kinds of people. I would think that maybe you might be wanting to reach out to maybe more the humble, righteous sorts, but it could be just anybody that needs to be heard. I've lost a train of thought, but basically, this is a complex subject, and I'll mention this right now. Just nip this in the bud. Liberals want to be the angels in this regard, the angels of racial harmony. They're not. They're not now, and they never have been. It's as simple as that. It's again, this subject is on some level very spiritual, because we're talking about just human interaction. We're talking about just being able to understand where someone's really coming from, and that takes some reflection. It takes some empathy. It takes some qualities that are inside. Right? You can't. If someone barks at you, you need to listen. You need to, just this, that, with, these commands, right? Well, if something that is forced down your throat, so to speak, right? Whether it's coming from school or some other source, you have to understand, the things that stick tend to be ultimately those things that have a little bit of truth to them. So it's true. If you see the movie Mississippi Burning, you're probably going to be a little bit more apt to be on guard for any you want to um, protect African Americans and be on guard against white supremacy, basically, right? Or the KKK, all that stuff. If that's a good movie, right? You don't want people dying. Obviously, they're black or black. That's ridiculous. It's satanic. It's as racist as you can get. It's evil. Right? Not likewise, you don't want anybody from any other nationality. Just you don't want. We don't want Mexicans being harassed and everybody assuming that they're illegal immigrants because some people are Mexican in California, and that we don't want that to happen. We don't want Mexicans to be harassed. We don't want Asians to be made fun of because they have a hard time speaking English sometimes. And I can just keep going. Sometimes these are a little bit of generalizations. I understand, but there's some truth to how often you come across these kinds of situations. Let's just take the Asian thing for a second. Many Asians have a hard time pronouncing certain letters like R, right? I don't know. It just depends. So obviously, just like with a kid who's trying to pronounce these letters, maybe I'm forgetting a few letters here, but obviously you don't want to mock them. Why would you do that? You might see that in elementary school, the bullying, that sort of thing. But if you ever encounter that outside of elementary school, that's something that needs to be nipped in the bud. Right? It's very wrong. If it's wrong in elementary school, it's far more unrighteous and wicked, in my opinion. Outside of that, but here's the thing about the liberal take. So again, they want to see themselves as the angels, right? The people that are for multiculturalism. They will stand up for minorities, right? Well, do they? I would venture to say that many liberals outside of the national government, maybe state government sometimes, many liberals will. Many real liberals will. But these politicians, are you kidding me? They're fake, right? A lot of these. They're bought. They're already bought and paid for a lot of times. And so many people think that they're this pillar of wisdom. No. If in the United States, we are the society, the country of the United States. We are surrounded by this culture of questioning the government. This is one of the things that makes us among the strongest nations in the world, is that we have the freedom, the right to question government. We can scrutinize the leaders more than almost any other nation in the world. And there's a lot of nations where people can't do that. They can't. Otherwise they'll get shot. They have to be very, very careful about all those things. But in the United States, we can do that freely. And I've grown up in this nation, and believe me, I am very, very critical of government leaders. And obviously both parties, right? Obviously. It doesn't, by this point, it should be clear they're both at fault, folks. But we're talking about the liberals here. I'll get the conservatives at some point. Maybe my beef with conservatives is it's harder to pin down because they've been trying to make me friends and allies with me, right? You get I don't know if you got the emails from Newt Gingrich, your friend, Newt Gingrich. Well, Newt Gingrich is part of the establishment. So I don't know why he's considering himself to be my friend, but obviously it's nice to start talking to someone, if you were ever talk to someone like Newt, and say, oh, it's nice to start out on a friendly basis, right? But he's not my friend. Okay, so what does multiculturalism benefit anyone? Does multiculturalism benefit black people? Let's just start with that, right? I know that's one of the, it shouldn't have to be this hot topic, Africans versus whites and everything. No, it shouldn't even exist, in my opinion. If we had I don't care if you. It's good to listen to Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech, right? That's good. But there's so many other people as well that that would be good to listen to, what they've said and what they've done. Not necessarily always people that we see in our textbooks in school, but there are many other people too that have said some very good things that we need to remember. But multiculturalism, the idea was, okay, again, the presence of or support for the presence of several different distinct cultural or ethnic groups within a society. Okay, so the majority of money, we'll say a large percentage of the money, financial capital. I can keep going. The United States is still primarily white, or European American. But maybe I'm okay. So I'm saying this because in the first case, referring to African Americans, what does multiculturalism help? How does it help African Americans? How does affirmative action help African Americans or other such folks that like that? How does you can just keep going. There's all these other kinds of things that are related to the subject. Well, obviously, people need jobs. We all need jobs. We all want to earn money. We all want to save money. We all want to do what we love, hopefully, and at least if we can. We all want to be happy. We want to be able to be out in public, in a park, or wherever, shopping, wherever, doing whatever we are doing. And we'd like to be able to just be there and enjoy life and not have to come across any attitudes that would cause us to feel like we're not included, right, in society. So I would think that multiculturalism should be something that Black people, African Americans would like. It should help them. But does it really? You know what? Whether someone's living in a black neighborhood or white neighborhood, inner city, country, wherever they're living in the United States or else, a person who lives a godly life or we'll say a righteous life, and a person who has good character, a lot of times I would say they're Christian or LDS, sure, but not always. There's all kinds of people that are good people, and those people, when they come across someone who's black, in this case, it can be any other ethnicity, but we're talking first about black people. When they come across someone who's black, are they thinking to themselves, "Oh, I need to be multicultural, right? I need to be open to, I'm remembering all the things I've learned in school about the right way of, being." Chances are, it's probably going to be a smidgen of that if they've heard it in school, but really, it's not going to come down to that. What it's going to come down to is, "Oh, hey, so and so, what's your name? Oh, you're right. I see you're my age." I'm thinking more kids here, right? It could be adults. Oh, it's good to, adults tend to ignore each other. Let's just be honest. We're very busy, and I would like things to be different, of course, but anyway. So let's just talk about maybe kids playing at the park for a second. You're gonna say that's probably a good example. You want your black kids to be able to you want your white kids, your Asian, and whatever else, everybody else. You want them to just be able to introduce themselves, say let's be friends, and be able to spend time playing. That's what you want, I would think, right? And but that comes from being kind and being a person that is a good friend, right? Those qualities make for good friends. And then a bit you can talk about whatever cultural things in the future if someone's so inclined. Sometimes kids are sensitive about those things, of course, and then the other kids will pick up on that immediately if they're a nice kid. Gosh, honestly, there's a boy that I was friends with had Japanese. I think one parent that was Japanese, and we talked about some things. It was so long ago; it's hard to remember some of these things. But I was careful about. I didn't talk about certain subjects. I don't know. Sometimes something I didn't even know about. But I I tried to be considerate. That's the best way of putting it. I tried to be considerate, and I think he noticed that, and I think he appreciated it. And yeah, so there's all kinds of kids, So, what does this multicultural thing benefit anyone? Well, it depends. It just depends. It just you know the things that are worthwhile, and you know the things that really aren't. When you have things, and as far as I know, I'll mention this. When you have Black Lives Matter, I I just get this mixed reaction from this whole movement. I'm not really sure what's going on here. Are people, and I have not seen that dumb Netflix thing about dear white people. It's such a were they were the makers of this video trying to, what's the first thing you think of when you hear this title of Dear White People? Well, I suppose the term white people isn't that big of a deal, but to me it sounds a little bit aggressive. Dear white people. Yeah. If it was a bit more polite, or if it was a documentary that had all these similar kind of subjects, but maybe they wanted to draw you in, have you consider things more rather than put you in a boxing match, so to speak. I haven't seen it. I don't know, but obviously it's common sense. You don't get, a lot of times you don't really get very far with people if you do this immediately, right? It's better to do this, right? This, or to think very clearly before you say certain thoughts, which is what I'm doing right now. I'm being very, very careful with what I'm saying because I'm trying to be considerate, not because I'm afraid. I'm trying to be considerate, right? Considerate. I'm trying to be considerate of the feelings of people out there, right? I'm talking about the subject. That's the difference. Okay, so I just don't know. I guess it all depends. Some things are beneficial. It's great to see in the paper someone that you don't hear from, some religion or some ethnicity very often. The only Armenian I've actually ever heard of on the internet was the lady on Young Turks. That's the only Armenian I've ever heard. Right? So you make the call. It just depends on what it is, if it benefits anyone. And I like things that benefit everyone. If something only benefits a single race, am I in favor of that? Well, I guess the question is, does it also negatively affect other people, other races? If it negatively affects other races, why would I be in favor of that? It doesn't matter what race is involved. It doesn't matter what it is. If something is going to benefit Pakistanis and hurt Indians, why would I be in favor of that? Why? Or vice versa. Even though I sometimes have more sympathy, or I'm more on the side of the Indians, right? I still care about Pakistanis, so there's a lot of good Pakistanis out there. No matter how crazy they might be sometimes, right? Militaristic or whatever, it's fine. Punjabis, they're great people. Sure, obviously, there's some great people, some very good people from Pakistan. I know that. I haven't met them, but I know there are. And it doesn't make any sense. So if something is going to benefit people, it should benefit everyone. Right? There's an event in Tacoma. It was kind of like something involving food and dance and the arts and things. It's held at Wright Park. I think it still is held at Wright Park every summer. I love stuff like that. I love it because you can put your foot in your mouth. People tend to be nice about it right there. People understand you're trying to be considerate or trying to be open, right? Even if you sound cheesy or you're not sure what to say, or where else are you gonna try authentic Kenyan food, or if you're not really into the Renaissance fair, it's cool, but they have like a Renaissance thing there sometimes, so you can, might be the first time some people see like people talking about lords and ladies, like in England or something, and all kinds of other things, right? That's what I like, those kinds of things. They benefit everyone. Right? So, I also want to say this. Goes without saying, I personally am not guilty, and I'm never apologizing for something I flat out didn't do and had no part of. What am I talking about this? Perhaps, I can mention more about the subject that has to do with American Indians or Asians or all those other groups. Maybe I can go on and see that this video is getting longer and longer by us talking about this, but I only am accountable morally, from a moral standpoint, for those things that I have done, as well as I've thought. So if I am guilty of mentally wanting to kill an entire race of people, hopefully that was a fleeting thought. I don't think I've ever wanted to do that, but that's a very evil thought if you encourage it, right? The point that Hitler did, of course. So, I'm going to say this at the outset. I am not guilty, and I'm never apologizing for something I flat out didn't do and had no part of. I've never owned slaves. I have never shot anyone in my entire life. And I simply wasn't around when the Europeans, I was born in 1978. When the Europeans came to the New World, I was pre-existence, whatever, I was not here. I have, some people I think I've inherited, I am a passive inheritor of this white privilege, European domination. You know what? You can take it all away. Take it all away. I'll be penniless. Put me anywhere in the world and start my life over again. White privilege. I understand what that means, but I'm not having anything to do with that. Right? I'm just trying to live my life as best I can every day. If there are things in the world that hold minorities back, I have yet to fully see that for myself. Am I guilty of something? Am I guilty of ignorance? Am I guilty of inaction? If you'd like, some folks out there watching this, perhaps, I can give you my schedule. I can give you a full list of everything I'm involved in right now. So you can see how busy I am, right? And if you have some suggestions for how I can help other people from other countries, I would be happy to hear them. And I will try to do more in that regard. But many of us are very busy, right? Many of us have only so much energy that we can expend. I'm not guilty. I know what I am guilty of and what I'm not. I'm telling you guys out there, I am not guilty of some of the things that these liberals sometimes say that I'm guilty of. I'm not. How can I be? Okay. I have to go on. There's so much more to talk about with cultures, believe me, but I have to go on. The liberal 10 Commandments. This is maybe a little bit of a jab. This is where I'm kind of jab a little bit. But, look, if you're a liberal that isn't like this, I understand. Maybe you're not the person I'm really talking to in this regard. Sorry, bear with me. I ask for your forgiveness, understanding, etc. I understand this is only kind of applying to certain liberals. The liberal 10 Commandments. Right? Number 1, thou shalt never vote for a conservative Republican. This is not a big deal to me. That's fine. Of course. All right. Number 2, thou shalt argue often with conservative Republicans. And you know what? It's going to be a huge waste of time. I've heard before. Sometimes you think that, always these trains of thought that you might have. Isn't it always just a headache when you have a fundamentalist Christian, and they meet a secular humanist, a guy who believes in evolution? Doesn't it just happen in college? College, honestly, you people in college need to be a little bit sharper. Sharper, you need to be a little bit more quick on the draw. If you know something if you know you're arguing for 3 hours, you lose sleep over this big shouting thing in the hall, and everybody tells you to shut up and go to bed, right? You should probably go to bed. Say, let's talk about this later. Go to bed. It's stupid, right? But liberals do it. That's the second commandment. Thou shalt argue often with conservative Republicans. Why? Because then you're proving to the world that you're bleeding heart liberal, right? Number 3. Thou shalt accuse all men of being racist, raping, meat-eating, chauvinist pigs, even if you're a man. Unless they're Muslim, right? Because, we need to be multicultural. Right? The Muslims, they're different, right? We need to be, right? Turn the other cheek. Listen. Oh, Muslims. Oh, they can't be involved with these things. They're not racist, raping, meat-eating, chauvinist pigs. Oh, they don't even eat pork, right? Okay. It's liberal. This is the liberal Ten Commandments, mind you. Okay. So obviously, many men are not racist. Right? The raping thing, I was shoved down my throat more times than I care to admit. Most men are not rapists. Period. And those that are, they don't repent. I'm not going to make a call there because it's God's call, but that's serious business. Meat eating? Of course I'm meat eating. Come at me, bro. I eat meat. I'm a meat eating man. It doesn't have the sting that should. Liberals. Chauvinist pigs. Well, the chauvinism thing. Well, talk to Sean Connery about that. You know what? I feel guilty for even saying that. I love Sean Connery. I've never been chauvinist. If someone thinks I have been, it's because I was taught to be that way. Not that women are inferior, that women are to be spoken to with some degree of kindness and respect, and if they obviously are not deserving of such behavior, then that's a problem, right? But I would think that the desire to treat people, treat women with a little bit more sensitivity and kindness and consideration, that sort of thing, is a good thing, right? That's something we want to keep going. It's not chauvinist. It's righteous, actually. It's a righteous tradition. And I know that in the Western world, a lot of that might be associated with not just Northern Europe, but it's a very, you think, this is, actually it's everywhere in Europe. In fact, Eastern Europe is preserving those traditions, great way, but not chauvinist, right? Now for the pig thing, gosh, I think I like to eat a lot sometimes, but probably not as much as when I was younger, maybe, I don't know. It's meaningless. I'm not a cop either, so. And Muslims. Well, if you're Muslim and you are racist and you rape and you eat meat, whatever you can eat, it's not forbidden, and you're a chauvinist, well, the liberals probably won't call you on it, but I certainly will. Yeah. Come at me, right? look, it is what it is, right? Liberals focus on white men. It doesn't change the fact that these things, these words, right, could apply to anyone who's guilty of them, right, or anyone who that applies to, guilty of meat eating, right? The nonsense of it, right? Okay, number 4. Getting a little long here. Sorry about this, folks. Thou shalt have no regard for the things that others hold sacred, such as sex and sexual topics. I really won't go into this one, but I think that you probably should understand what I'm talking about. It should be crystal clear what I'm talking about. If you're talking about some nasty subject, whatever it is, whether you're conservative, liberal, whatever, that is that kind of behavior you're showing to other people in your bravado, right? You think that it's admirable, whatever. Again, if you're talking about some very nasty stuff, right, and you're doing it in a very callous way, you're talking about a callous way, meant to embarrass someone or meant to just be a dumb jock, whatever. Of course, that's evil. That's wrong. And the liberals that do that, I might look at, well, liberals might say, oh, that's not just a liberal thing. Well, obviously, that applies to everyone. Of course, it does. I can speak from personal experience here. It does apply to everyone. But if you're kind of tossing out 10 commandments, or just kind of maybe obeying some and not others, liberals, just be careful. That's all I'm going to say. Be considerate and careful for the God-given feelings regarding sex and such similar subjects that might be, very sensitive and sacred. Just be class acts, right? If you are considerate toward other people, maybe that Democrat that you want to have be elected, maybe you might be elected because people say, hey, these liberals are great people. They are nice. They're not vulgar. And this person that they were wanting to be elected is a great person. I might just vote for that person. Okay? So, thou shalt advocate for greater societal acceptance of the practices of homosexuality, transgenderism, bisexuality, and other such practices. Oh boy. You know what? Just talking about sex here. There's a difference between not giving someone a bad time because they're any of these things, and just letting it be, right? And there's a difference between being that way and advocating. What is that word, advocate? Well, advocate. Thou shalt advocate. Well, it's sounding like, okay, this is a good thing. I want this to grow. You know what? This flies in a perpendicular fashion. It's right smack dab against the grain of Christianity. It's wrong. Homosexuality as a practice is wrong. Transgenderism is wrong. Bisexuality is wrong. They're all wrong. Now, is that reason to treat someone poorly? That's any of those things? No. We still don't understand how we treat someone who's a sinner, and we're all sinners, right? Some more than others. We all fall short of the glory of Christ, and all these kinds of Christian terms. I could use my LDS terms, or whatever. But look, we all need to be kind to each other, far more so than we are right now. Infinitely more so. So, I mean, look, you don't treat someone who is gay or wants to be gay or has gay feelings. You don't treat them like they're a serial killer or a felon. They're not. They may be guilty in some people's eyes, of a grievous sin. Homosexuality is certainly seen that way, but it's just you see what I'm saying? There's a difference between just letting people be, not getting on the cases for these things, right? Unless there's a good reason to do that. If they're trying to, if a gay person is trying to have sex with you, and or something along those lines, or something approaching that, and you're making clear that you're not gay yourself, obviously you need to, say, whoa, hold on, kind of thing, obviously, right? Or it could be someone discussing, again, just like I mentioned in number 4, if a gay person, by thinking that you are going to be accepting of them, that they can then talk about all these intimate, right, things that are these homosexual practices with you and other people they've done stuff with. No, that's also not done. We really shouldn't do that either with heterosexual relations either. That the whole thing should not be discussed ever, in polite conversation, which should be, in my opinion, ideally, just about all conversation. So, I mean, really, unless you talk to your mom or dad, I guess it's different. But again, it just depends. It all depends. But I'm not an advocate. I'm not an advocate of these things. I just am someone who will treat them the way that the Lord want me to treat them. Approaching them with olive branch, whatever, friendship. I don't think about hating these folks ever at all. It just doesn't cross my mind. Anyway, but that's the 5th commandment: to advocate, to want those things to spread. Number 6. Thou shalt support organizations like PETA, Agenda 21, the NAACP, the ACLU, Planned Parenthood, etc. If you don't support those organizations, you're not very liberal, right? Okay, well, I'm just let that. You know how I feel about that already. I think it's all just a bunch of hooey. Really, you don't need the NAACP. You don't need them. I think black people can do fine without those guys. Now, they're not bad guys. I'm just saying, you just don't really need it. Rather have a bunch of money going into these inner cities, going to the right people, starting up businesses, having black people and everybody else coming, these businesses, increasing employment, then just this prosperity spreading, and then all of a sudden Detroit looks like, I don't know, Paris. Oh, Paris. You know what I'm trying to say. The place is amazing. The place is an amazing place to live. That's what you want, right? Along with, just the not living and all that stuff, Just being more, we all want. Okay, so, number 7. Thou shalt love feminism. Oh boy, feminism. Look, if it's older feminism, it's Susan B. Anthony. I was mentioned before, that's great. I mentioned this subject before. This one and homosexuality. If you think that women need to be bra burners and need to be macho, not feminine, but they need to. If you're that kind of feminist, I just, what? Don't even bother. I don't want to know you. I only want to know people that are in favor of the old feminism. Right? That was the only worthwhile kind of feminism to be involved with anyway. Women should vote. Women should get equal pay as men. Women should be treated respectfully. And all these kinds of things. But women don't have the right, and it's a very evil idea. It's hard to think of a more evil idea than this. Denying a woman their feminine qualities that are innate. Saying that they're somehow not right, that women should be men, or that women should be something other, or that they can, look, that's nonsense. It's also evil. Women should be women, and men should be men. Period. Thou shalt, number 8. Thou shalt criticize any speech that is politically incorrect. If someone says some word in their speech that offends you, that you think is politically incorrect, you can call them on it, right? Well, what happens in that regard? What is it? Just it annoys people, right? Most of the time, it's not coming from behavior or from attitudes that really are worthy of that kind of level of hostility, correction. And sometimes maybe something like that is warranted. Person who comes to Pollock jokes, I think they should just go away. I hate the word Pollock anyway. Well, I understand kind of where they come from. But, yeah, politically incorrect. What are we look, Vladimir Putin, all people. President Putin. He's talking about that a lot recently. This politically incorrect, being politically correct thing. It's paralyzing the Western world. Why is it paralyzing the Western world? What are we afraid of? Are we afraid of being criticized by someone for being politically incorrect? For supposedly being racist when we know we're not? It's everybody's just paranoid of saying anything that's politically incorrect. It's ridiculous. It's nonsense. Grown adults that will go to great lengths, if they're white, a lot of times, to pussyfoot around people that are acting like hellions and doing everything in the book to provoke these white people to say something politically incorrect, racist, heaven forbid. Look, if someone is acting like a jerk, what am I going to say? I'm like, okay, here's what's going to happen. Pipe down, right? Or, oh yeah, I don't know. If you want to go the violent route, just be ready for a fight. I would think people would probably call 911 in some cases, or they would probably be moved to different areas of the bus. It just depends on the situation. In a bus situation, subway. It's ridiculous. The kinds of behaviors that's out there that I've heard of. I don't want anything to have anything to do with some of these folks. It's just bait people. That's what it is. It's baiting people to be politically incorrect a lot of times. Stupid. It's evil. It's wrong. It's bullying. All that stuff. Number 9. Number 9. Oh boy. There we go. Number 9. Number 9. Thou shalt love thy local hipsters, especially in their marijuana use, right? And free love lifestyle. Well, goodness. I personally think hippies are okay. I mean, I don't have anything personally against them. I've never had anything personally against them. Who are hippies? The only hippies I've ever known, really, were when I was a little bit older in my teens or in college, and they're fine. They just, they're kind of easy to get along with a lot of times. I don't smoke marijuana. I do it for religious reasons. It's not good for you, but, it's like marijuana, beer, smoking, I don't know. And their free love lifestyle. Well, goodness. I didn't want to talk about sex anymore tonight. Basically, supporting them, not supporting them. Be friends with people. That's fine. You don't need to support sexual immorality or even drug use. Because what's going to happen in either case? Why do we talk about it as Christians or Muslims or Jews or whoever else that believes that some of these things are wrong? That's pretty much most everybody in the world knows it's wrong anyway, right? Especially when it comes to sex, sexual immorality, right? Yeah. Okay, number 10. Number 10. Last but not least. Thou shalt love piercings, tattoos, Wiccan, paganism, and all things countercultural, including relativism, etc. Well, gosh, that just sounds like a very wholesome commandment, doesn't it? Okay, so all you liberals that I've been talking about the last hour, over an hour, all you liberals that you think this doesn't apply to, great. I'd like to hear what you believe. Because these things are things that I kept hearing my entire life. These are reasons I'm not liberal. You know, I mean, so it's nonsense to me. It's nonsense. A lot of it. Some of it makes more sense. I try to eat healthy, you know, try to take care of the world, but you know, there's such a thing as getting a little bit cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs about some of these subjects. Okay. Anyway, leave me your thoughts and comments below. By all means, please do. Talk to you guys later. Thanks. Bye.